This story sounds simple until you hear the ending. The night Ada buried her mother, she made just one promise: I will never forgive you. She didn't know then that the same person she hated would be the one who would later save her life. They say betrayal breaks you, but sometimes it also becomes the doorway to your greatest healing. Ada had always believed that family was everything. Growing up in a small town not far from Uyo, her world was simple: a rusted zinc-roofed house, a loving mother, and dreams that were bigger than her circumstances. Her mother, Mama Grace, sold vegetables in the market, not because she loved the work, but because she loved her daughter. Every night, after long hours of standing in the sun, Mama Grace would sit beside Ada's mat, gently brushing her hair.
My daughter, you will not suffer like me. You will go to school. You will become great.
Ada believed her with everything in her heart, but there was someone else in their lives, someone Ada once trusted completely: her mother's younger sister, Auntie Kemi. To the outside world, Auntie Kemi looked like a blessing: educated, fashionable, living in the city. Whenever she visited, neighbors would gather around her like she was a celebrity. Don't worry, my girl. One day I'll take you to the city. You'll attend the best schools. Ada believed her too. That was the mistake. The day everything changed came quietly. Mama Grace fell sick. At first, it was just fatigue, then dizziness, then pain that refused to leave. Hospital bills began piling up. The small savings they had vanished quickly. That was when Auntie Kemi stepped in. She offered to help. She offered to handle the hospital arrangements. She offered to take Ada to the city for better opportunities, while her mother recovered. Mama Grace hesitated, but when the doctor said, she needs urgent treatment or we may lose her, she agreed.
Go with your auntie. It's for your future.
Ada didn't know that was the last real conversation she would ever have with her mother. The city was not what Ada expected. Instead of enrolling her in school, Auntie Kemi began using her as a house help: cooking, cleaning, running errands. No school, no kindness, no love. When Ada finally gathered the courage to ask, Auntie, when will I start school? The answer was cold. Do you think education is free? You should be grateful you're even here. Weeks turned into months. Months turned into silence. No calls to her mother. No visits. No explanations. Until one evening, while scrubbing the floor, Ada overheard a phone conversation that would shatter her completely. Yes, she died last month. No, the girl doesn't know. And it's better that way. The sponge slipped from Ada's hand. Her world froze. Her mother gone, and nobody told her. Ada stood there, unable to breathe. The woman she trusted, the woman who promised her a future, had stolen her life and taken away her mother without a goodbye. Ada did not cry immediately. She stood there, frozen, while Auntie Kemi laughed softly on the phone like she had just discussed the price of tomatoes. Yes-o, the woman is gone. Suffering finished. Every word stabbed deeper. Mama Grace, gone. No goodbye, no burial, no last hug. That night, Ada lay on her thin mattress staring into the darkness. The woman who promised her school, the woman who took her away, the woman she called Auntie, had lied to her, used her, and stolen the last moments she could have had with her mother. By morning, something inside Ada had changed. Why are you standing like that? Ada's voice was calm, but it carried pain deeper than anger. My mother is dead. Silence. Auntie Kemi froze for a second, then quickly recovered. Who told you that nonsense? I heard you. You said she died last month. The room felt heavy. For a moment, Auntie Kemi said nothing. Then she scoffed. So, what do you want me to do? Bring her back to life? Ada stared at her. No apology, no regret, no shame. Just coldness. You promised her you would take care of me. You promised I would go to school. Life is not a movie, Ada. If you don't like it here, you know where the door is. Those words became the last straw. That night, with only a small nylon bag and a heart full of grief, Ada walked out. No plan, no money, no destination, just pain, and the burning memory of her mother's voice. You will become great. She slept on cold benches. She wandered unfamiliar streets. She begged strangers for water. Some ignored her. Some insulted her. Some took advantage of her kindness. And slowly, the bright girl who once believed in people began to disappear. Betrayal does not just break trust. It changes the way you see the world. Weeks later, exhausted and weak, Ada collapsed outside a small roadside food shop. The owner, a middle-aged woman named Mrs. Ifunanya, rushed out. "My child, what happened to you?" Ada could barely speak. Instead of asking too many questions, Mrs. Ifunanya gave her food, warm water, a safe place to rest, no shouting, no judgment, just kindness. Later that night, as Ada finally spoke, she told her story between tears. The betrayal, the loss, the pain. Mrs. Ifunanya listened quietly, then held her hand. "My dear, pain can either destroy you, or it can redirect you." Those words would stay with Ada forever. Mrs. Ifunanya allowed Ada to stay and help at the shop, not as a servant, but as family. She taught her discipline. She encouraged her to read again. She helped her register for evening lessons. For the first time since her mother died, Ada began to feel alive again, still broken, still hurting, but no longer hopeless. Yet deep inside, one thing remained untouched: the wound of betrayal. "I will never forgive her." Mrs. Ifunanya looked at her gently. "Forgiveness is not for the person who hurt you. It is for the heart that deserves peace." Ada did not understand that yet, but life was already preparing her. For a reunion she never expected. Years would pass. Ada would grow. She would rise. She would become someone her younger self could never imagine. But fate had not finished writing her story, because the same woman who destroyed her life would one day stand before her again, not as her auntie, but as a stranger, begging for help. Time passed, not suddenly, not magically, but slowly, painfully, steadily. Ada grew from a wounded teenager into a focused young woman. Under Mrs. Ifunanya's guidance, she completed her secondary education through evening classes. She worked during the day, studied at night, and often slept with books on her chest. There were days she wanted to give up, days when memories of her mother's smile made her chest ache, days when betrayal replayed in her mind like a broken record. But each time she felt weak, she remembered Mama Grace's words, "You will become great," and she chose to keep going. Years later, Ada earned admission into the university, not through connections, not through luck, but through persistence. She chose to study social work. When people asked why, her answer was always simple: "Because I know what it feels like to be abandoned." She volunteered at orphanages. She mentored young girls. She listened to stories nobody else wanted to hear. Slowly, her name began to mean something. People began to trust her. Organizations began to invite her to speak. And before she realized it, the broken girl who once slept on benches had become a voice of hope for many. At 29, Ada launched a small non-profit, the Grace Project, named after her mother. Its mission was simple: to support abandoned girls with education, mentorship, and shelter. What began as a small initiative soon attracted attention. Local media covered her story. Donations began to come in. Volunteers joined. Ada became known not just for her success, but for her compassion. People often said, "You must have a very kind heart to forgive life after all you've been through." She would only smile, because they didn't know the truth. There was still one person she had not forgiven. One afternoon, Ada received an invitation. A large charity organization wanted to partner with the Grace Project. They invited her to attend a community outreach program at a public hospital. She agreed. It was just another event. Or so she thought. The hall was crowded. Volunteers moved around. Patients waited quietly. Ada walked from bed to bed, offering words of encouragement, holding hands, listening, until she stopped at one particular bed. The woman lying there looked older than her age, tired, fragile, her eyes sunken with regret. Their eyes met, and in that instant, Ada's heart stopped. She knew that face. The voice was weaker now. The pride was gone. The elegance had faded. But the memory was clear. It was her, Auntie Kemi. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Ada stood frozen. The room felt smaller. The years disappeared. She was no longer the successful founder. She was once again the girl who had been lied to, abandoned and broken. Then the woman whispered softly, "Please, help me." Ada's chest tightened. This was the same woman who had said, "If you don't like it here, you know where the door is." The same woman who hid her mother's death. The same woman who shattered her childhood. Now she was lying here, weak, needing help, not recognizing who stood before her. Or maybe she did, because slowly tears filled the woman's eyes. "Ada," she whispered uncertainly. And in that moment, the entire room seemed to hold its breath. "Ada?" Ada did not answer immediately. She simply stood there, staring at the face that once dominated her nightmares. This was not the powerful, fashionable Auntie Kemi of the past. This was a fragile woman, worn down by life, with regret written clearly in her eyes. Tears slid down the woman's cheeks. "It is you, isn't it? You look just like your mother. That name, Mother," it pierced Ada's heart. "You left me. You lied to me. You took my mother away from me without a goodbye. I know, and not a day has passed that I have not paid for it. Why? Why did you do it?" The question that had lived in her heart for years was finally spoken aloud. "Because I was jealous. Jealous. Your mother, she was everything I was not. Kind, loved, respected. Even in poverty, she had peace. And you were her pride, her joy." I felt small beside her. When she became sick, I did not plan to abandon you. I truly wanted to help. But when the burden became heavy, I became selfish, bitter, angry. Instead of rising above my weakness, I allowed it to control me. Tears filled Ada's eyes now, not because the pain was gone, but because the truth was heavier than she expected. "There is something else you must know." "What?" The woman looked at her with trembling lips. "The money your mother saved for your education. She gave it to me before she died. She said if anything happened to her, I should use it to train you." Ada's breath caught, but I didn't. I spent it. On myself, on my lifestyle, on my pride. That money was enough to save her life too. If I had used it well, she might have lived longer. Silence swallowed the room. This was no longer just betrayal. It was guilt. It was consequence. It was regret. Ada turned away slowly, struggling with the storm inside her. Anger, pain, grief, memories, all colliding. This was the moment she had imagined for years. She had thought she would feel satisfaction seeing this woman broken. But instead, she felt something else. Pity. Not because the pain had disappeared, but because she realized something deeper. Holding on to hatred had not healed her. It had only delayed her peace. Behind her, the woman whispered, "If you cannot forgive me, I understand. But before I die, I needed you to know the truth." Ada stood still for a long moment, then slowly, she turned back. Her eyes were wet, her voice was soft, but her words were powerful. "You broke me. You took years from my life. But you did not destroy me. I am standing here today not because of what you did to me, but in spite of it. And I refuse to let your mistake poison my heart forever. I forgive you." The woman broke down completely, sobbing into the bed sheet, not out of relief alone, but because she knew forgiveness was something she did not deserve, yet was receiving. Ada stayed. She arranged proper care. She ensured the woman was treated with dignity. She did not announce her identity to others. She did not seek praise. She simply did what her mother would have done. Because in forgiving, she finally felt free. Betrayal can harden the heart, but forgiveness can set it free. Ada lost her mother. She lost her childhood. She lost her trust. But she did not lose her humanity. And in the end, the greatest victory was not success. It was choosing compassion where bitterness once lived. Sometimes the deepest wounds come from the people we trusted most. And sometimes the greatest strength is not in walking away, but in choosing to forgive. If this story touched your heart, let it remind you that your pain does not define you, and your past does not have to imprison you. You may not be able to change what was done to you, but you can always choose what you become because of it. Thank you for spending these moments with us on Tales by Moonlight, where stories heal hearts and every lesson lives beyond the night. If you found meaning in this story, please like, share, and subscribe, because someone else out there might need this message today. Until our next story, stay kind, stay hopeful, and remember, even the darkest night cannot stop the morning from coming.